So, as I said, this webinar today will be on why you need to become a certified S4 HANA consultant. Hopefully it will load. There we go. So before we go into the technology details, we have noticed at K2 that the cloud market is changing. A lot of clients, 10 years ago, there was a trend to be implementing on-premise solutions, to be doing years-long projects where you need to bring on hundreds of people to implement that technology, and clients are starting to move away from this kind of implementation, and mostly because of the cost. Cloud computing is here to stay. It's been in the market for it's been a big market player for at least 7 years, and most of that is down to the fact that the cost of and cloud implementation is a lot cheaper than an on-premise implementation. You can see on this diagram here that with on-premise you have very few upfront costs, but you have huge underlying costs once you have implemented that that technology. So you have to pay for the maintenance, you have to pay for the training, the hardware, any customizing or extra features you want, you have to pay for all of those as well. Whereas with cloud computing, most of the cost is in the subscription fee. So you might pay more to begin with, but once you've made that initial payment, you have a much lower overall cost, and there are much lower running costs as well. So you don't have to pay for the maintenance or the upgrades. That's all included within that cost of a cloud implementation. So that's the main reason that we're seeing this huge transition from on-premise projects to cloud-based projects. And the same thing is happening with the freelance market. Again, 10, 15 years ago, not many people were looking at hiring freelancers. If they were looking to fill a position, their first thought would be that they were going to find someone permanently to fill that position. Companies and their CEOs are much more willing to engage freelance talent as a solution now, partly because of the huge underlying cost of permanent employees. You can see on this diagram on the right, again, it's the iceberg idea. If you have someone whose base salary is $75,000, then that's what you're paying out to them every year, but that's not including the costs of recruiting them, the overheads they might have, any relocation costs that they're expecting, the onboarding, the training, the cost of someone interviewing that person. So the total annual cost can double with a permanent employee. And CEOs, companies are looking at ways they can save money, and while a freelance consultant might have a higher daily rate, they're only coming in for a short amount of time and they are able to get that job done and then move on to another project. So freelancers are becoming a much more viable solution for companies. And you can see a few statistics here. At the moment, 30% of the US market is made up by freelancers, and that's expected to increase to 50% by 2020. So half of the half of the US market will be made up of freelancers. Over the past decade in the UK, we've had 14% growth within the UK freelancer market, and they're the fastest growing group in the EU labour market. And over in Asia, we've got 23% of India's working population as independent freelancers and 12.5% of Asia's total working population. So with countries like India and China who have huge populations, for 12.5% of those to be freelancers, that's a really huge number of people. So you can see that the impact freelancers are having on the market today. So why would a client choose to implement a data management system technology? This is obviously moving on to S4 HANA and why that's becoming a very popular solution in today's market. A data management system technology is a highly efficient way to handle large amounts of multiple types of data. In today's society, we are generating huge amounts of data, and people want to know what to do with it. People want to know how they can use this data to gain from it and to use it intelligently so that they know they can forecast differently, they can plan differently, and that's why clients are looking at implementing data management systems. With a system like SAP HANA, you have memory optimized, columnar compressed. It's possible for a new breed of applications to emerge based on databases like that. They enable companies to run analytical queries side by side with transactions on the same data, but making them into smart transactions, so using the analytical queries to make decisions about how transactions can be handled, rather than simply data-driven scripted operations which we used to have in the past. And it is expected that more applications like this will appear during the course of the year, running on SAP HANA and other database management systems as well. But this has implications that goes beyond technology. It's not just that these applications will be created. They could force a fundamental rethink of the meaning of a business process. So that has a huge impact on all types of clients across all different types of industries. So what is S4 HANA? S4 HANA stands for Simple Fourth Generation SAP Business Suite Solutions Running on HANA. So it's a simplified version of ERP which integrates and leverages various solutions and technologies in the SAP arsenal. It provides simplicity of the database layout. It allows for higher data entry speed, huge improvements in reporting, and most importantly, complete flexibility in reporting using external hierarchies. Both the analytical and transactional databases are combined, which gives you one source of data, which allows for built-in consistency and more insight, as well as speedier transaction times. It's not going to take weeks to get a report anymore. There's only one source of data to pull that report from. So S4 HANA allows for increased speed as well. And it provides end-to-end process support for areas across the whole business suite. So you've got customer engagement, finance, human resources, manufacturing, procurement, logistics, and IT management. So S4 HANA is not just suitable for one area of the business. A client can implement it and they can gain reporting across every single area, which is obviously hugely attractive to the C-level of any company. So the benefits of S4 HANA. It's flexible when it comes to development. For clients who've already got an on-premise solution, S4 HANA can be implemented on top of that. But for someone who's looking to move to a database management system now, they can implement on the cloud. And it's a comprehensive platform with an increased offering and more integration options. So if you look at the diagram on the right, you can see the improvements. It's based on a Fiori system, so it's got improved user experience. There are a lot of different applications and extensions. For example, it's compatible with the Internet of Things. It can be used across multiple devices by different people who will all have access to the same information. And it's also got native integration for hybrid scenarios. So the below technologies, Ariba, Concur, Fieldglass, Hybris, and SuccessFactors all naturally integrate with S4 HANA. So again, it's across all of the business suite. It doesn't need to be that S4 HANA is more beneficial for one area. It's naturally paired with these other scenarios anyway, and so again allowing for increased reporting, allowing customers to use the data that they're creating in a very intelligent way. So we were looking at the competitors. Who is the main competitor of S4 HANA, and what are the main reasons for S4 HANA being the market leader? So if we look at this graph on the right, you can see which in-memory database platforms hold the highest market shares. So there are a few familiar names in there. There are a few big names like Teradata, IBM, Microsoft, but it's clear that the market leaders are Oracle and SAP. So Oracle eBusiness Suite is the next competitor to S4 HANA. Oracle is compatible with all independent software vendors and obviously Oracle products, but you would need a secondary database to load from, for example, Oracle Exadata, because times 10 is only a cache. So you don't have that single source of truth that you do with HANA. You don't have only one database. You're having to pull information from two different databases there. There is no database size limit, but there are limitations in the hierarchy structure. So while the size isn't limited, the amount that you can actually do with that database is limited when it comes to Oracle. With S4 HANA on the other side, you have a database that runs fully in memory, allows real-time analysis of billions of rows of data. It's a database that any administrator or developer can quickly understand and administer because it's a standard ANSI database. And there are already major customers migrating from Oracle to SAP HANA, including Shell, Molson Coors, British Petroleum, and Lexmark. So a lot of customers are already seeing the advantages of moving away from Oracle and towards SAP. So where would you begin? If this is a journey that sounds attractive to you, if it's something that you think, if it's the kind of projects that you think you'd like to become involved with, what do you need to do? It's not essential, but it is recommended that you have experience in reporting, analytics and data modeling, a basic understanding of SQL and business systems landscapes. And that's just because that would be the road that you were continuing along. So if you have that background already, you would find the transition to S4 HANA perhaps a bit easier than someone coming without that background. OpenSAP is a free learning resource that you can find online. You can, oh, sorry. Sorry, let me get back to that. So you can Google these course codes and you don't need to worry about writing them down now. We will send you the information after. But Joy 047 implementation of SAP S4 HANA, Joy 023 SAP S4 HANA in a nutshell, Joy 033 SAP S4 HANA deep dive, and Joy 048 SAP S4 HANA use cases. All of these courses are available on OpenSAP, and it just gives you a chance to look into S4 HANA a bit before deciding that this is the path you're going to take. You can see what the main differences are. You can gain a bit more knowledge around the subject and just make sure that it is a path you want to go down. And then if you decided that you wanted to go ahead and become certified, gain as much knowledge as you could around S4 HANA, there are a few courses within the Learning Hub that you would need to take before you sit the certification exam. So S4 HANA within the SAP Learning Hub, just to give you an overview, the Learning Hub is an educational platform offered by SAP. It's a comprehensive learning solution. Everything is on demand in the cloud, so you can learn at a time and a place that suits you rather than having to go to classroom trainings or have to fit someone else's schedule when that doesn't actually suit your own schedule. So the Learning Hub is moving away from classroom training and giving people more flexibility to learn at a time and a place that suits them. It does cover all of the SAP modules as well as all the new releases. So if you're coming from a finance background or a logistics background and you were interested in S4 HANA Finance or S4 HANA Enterprise Management, both of those topics are covered within the Learning Hub as well as traditional HANA. So if you wanted to become knowledgeable on HANA before you moved over to S4 HANA, all of that is included within the Learning Hub as well. But specifically related to S4 HANA, you have 54 different titles related to both on-premise and cloud editions. 20 of those are learning maps, and a learning map is to train you for more of a business role than for a certification. So you would come away from having done those different sequences of courses, knowing how to complete a task within your project rather than passing the certification. They have learning rooms, which are probably one of the most popular features of the Learning Hub. The learning rooms include the interactive and kind of support element that you would have had if you went to classroom trainings. So it's not all just reading through handbooks and e-learning courses by yourself. You do have that support element. I will go into a bit more detail later about the learning rooms, but you can see here the 4 different learning rooms. You have S4 HANA Overview, SAP Activate Learning Room, S4 HANA Implementation and Configuration, and as I mentioned before, S4 HANA Enterprise Management. There is also a Finance Learning Room where if you were interested in S4 HANA Finance, you could discuss those topics within that particular learning room. Another option you have is live system access. So you can purchase extra live system access through SAP, through the Learning Hub, and gain one-on-one access to an S4 HANA system, giving you the chance to put the knowledge that you're learning on the theoretical side into actual hands-on practice in a live system access. Again, one-on-one, there wouldn't be anyone else in there configuring or changing any of the development or customizing that you're doing. So what is the learning map which leads to certification? Just to let you know, this course is designed to give participants an introduction to the new innovation adoption framework, SAP Activate. So the course discusses the methodology component of SAP Activate, including key deliverables in the context in different project journeys for the new implementation in the cloud and on-premise, system conversion and landscape transformation. With the move to the cloud, obviously projects are changing and project managers themselves might need to learn new methodologies. And this example is for the SAP Activate project manager. So you can see again, you've got that SAP Activate learning room. Then once you've done those required courses within the Learning Hub, you could then do the certification. And while there are no other formal S4 HANA certifications, the highest recognition someone can achieve is a certificate of completion from within the Learning Hub. So this is available on some of the courses, and it's only awarded once someone has been through all of the content and passed any end of unit test, if that's applicable for that title. So while the certification doesn't exist, that is the highest level of recognition you can achieve, and that is only available through the Learning Hub. And what if you're not a project manager? What if that's not the certification that you want to do? Again, you could use OpenSAP for the quick orientation, or the S4 HANA introduction and overview are both available within the Learning Hub. And then you could go deeper and become fully competent with the Activate methodology. Even if you're not a project manager, you might want to understand why your project manager is doing things in a certain way, the S4 HANA implementation scenarios, and then you could expand your skills into different areas, S4 HANA analytics, modeling basics with core data services. Again, this is where it might be useful for you to move into enterprise management if you come from a logistics background, or if you come from a finance background, to move into S4 HANA Finance. Once you've got that real understanding of the S4 HANA platform, it's from there that you can expand into other areas. So to go back to the learning rooms, again, there are 4 different subject-specific learning rooms, and they really are a kind of community aspect of the Learning Hub. Each learning room is subject-specific, so you have to request to join. Every request will be granted, but you have to actually be interested in that topic to be able to join. It's not just an audience of 10,000 people who aren't contributing to the community. So everyone in there is a like-minded consultant. Possibly they're studying for the same certification, they're taking the same courses as you, and each learning room is led by a subject matter expert. So there will be someone in there who will know the answers to the questions that you have, someone who's familiar with the certification, familiar with the content, and will be able to answer any questions. So you can see this example here, someone saying he wants to get a formal certification in project management, which should he take? So it's very ground level advice. There's no element of teacher-student. While there are people who have obviously better knowledge about the titles and the certifications, it's a very familiar environment. Anyone can ask questions, anyone can answer each other's questions. So it's a way to expand your professional network as well. Perhaps you'll see someone who's on the same project as you, who you didn't know was studying for the same thing as you. So it's also a way for you to expand your professional network. So which companies have already implemented S4 HANA? You can see on this slide a few global players, for example, Siemens, Costco, Lexmark, Hitachi, Philips. It's important to note that there have been 3,200 customers who have already purchased S4 HANA. Of those, only 160 projects have gone live. 800 are still ongoing, so that is over 2,200 projects waiting to happen. And there aren't enough consultants who are fully versed in S4 HANA to be able to meet these project needs. So it's a great time to be learning, a great time to be becoming familiar with that content, so that you can make sure you're part of these 2,200 projects which are still waiting to happen. So what would it cost you? The Learning Hub is, once you have a license, you have access for 12 months. K2, as we have a partnership with SAP, we are able to offer discounts against the SAP retail price. And while SAP would charge you everything up front, you also have flexibility of payment plans through K2. So our best value option is to pay up front. That would cost you €1,980. Or if it's more convenient for you, you can pay in 3 installments over 3 months, which would cost you €2,090, or in 6 installments over 6 months, and that would cost you €2,200, which still gives you a 12% discount against the SAP retail price. So the reason that we were able to offer these discounts is because SAP were focusing their efforts on targeting companies who will give access to their employees, and K2 wanted to be able to offer access to the same material to individuals and freelancers who might not have the same money available as a huge corporation buying 300 licenses for their employees. So we were able to negotiate discounts and also payment plans. So in conclusion, what's happening? The freelance market is changing. It's very important to stay relevant. The competition is increasing, so there's no time like the present to be learning and making sure that you are part of these projects that will be happening over the next months and years. We have these programs in place for the consultants in our community. We are able to aid in the cost of these trainings with the discounts available and also the payment plans. As I mentioned earlier in the webinar, we will be sending you follow-up information with specifics, but if there are any immediate questions, then obviously there's time now, but also you can email saplearninghub@k2partnering.com, where we have a dedicated team within K2 who will be happy to answer any questions or concerns that people might have. So I can see we've had a few questions on the chat function throughout the webinar, but there is also the opportunity now to raise your hand, use the hand icon, and we can then unmute you and you can ask your question live. I would recommend using the speaking function because it might be that someone has the same question as you, and you asking your question might mean it gets answered for everyone else. So I'll stop sharing my screen.
So we had a question from Juan. I just want to share what kind of question we got and just to share the answer. So Juan Leon, you have asked how much time does the price include? So you have unlimited access for 1 year, so 12 months access, and you will get unlimited time. So you don't need to worry about how much time you're going to be using on SAP Learning Hub. You will be able to use unlimited time. And also, Juan, you had another question about, is this include the price of the certification? So the certification you will need to purchase directly from SAP, and it's 500 euros for 12 months subscription as well. It's going to be 500 euros for 6 exams. So you can take up to 6 different module certification through SAP. I think we got another question from Vishal Khan. Do you provide these training online? What's the duration? So this is the online SAP's online platform where you can use for 12 months unlimited access. So that's 1,980 euros for pay up front, and you can use as much as you want. And also you had a question, can I take certification from India? Yes, you can take certification from any country, and you can take the courses through SAP Learning from any country. Anna, you had a question, are there some free courses in SAP Learning Hub site? There is a Discovery edition where you can explore. It has a limitation on the content. So it has about 150 content, and if you have a full subscription, you will get 5,000 contents. But you will be able to understand the functionality and what you can expect if you upgrade it to Professional Edition. So again, it's called Discovery Edition. So if you type in on the internet SAP Learning Hub Discovery Edition, you will be able to use it for free. Juan, I think you have another question. How do you support consultant to achieve those certification in HANA? So there is a Learning Hub classes where you can attend, and depending on which area that you want to move into. So if you're a developer, you want to understand the development of HANA platform, there is a courses, and we will be able to explain to you one-to-one over the phone as well if you would prefer. And we can tell you which are the recommended courses, and you can always reach out to us as well. Renee, you have, do we get the slide by email after the webinar? Yes, we will send you the presentation, and also you will receive a recording from the webinar, so you can always reference it later on. Charles, you have a question. Usually, how long does it take to complete the required lessons learning before presenting the certification? So I would recommend, it will depend on your project. If you're working full-time, obviously you have less time to invest on your study. But some consultant who's working on a project Monday to Friday full-time, they invested about 3 months to sit on the certification, but it will also depend on how much time you will need yourself. But I would say about 3 months. Juan, you want, how can I contact you to get more information? So we will be sending email over to you, but you can also email SAP Learning Hub at mark k2partnering.com. But we will be sending emails afterwards to everyone who's attending this webinar. So you can reply to us as well. We have a question from Sampas. I'm gonna unmute you so you can ask your question. Sampas, you're
Hey.
now unmuted.
Hi, thanks. This is Sampath. I'm calling from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So I finished the Open SAP S4 HANA course. And so are those like the same module divisions that SAP currently has in its ERP system, like sales and distribution, P2P, logistics, or are they called something different when it comes to their new suite for HANA model? Like, are they called like logistics and sales, or are they called like Hybris and Ariba, things like those?
Thank you, Sampath. So within the S4 HANA suite, the names aren't necessarily the same. So logistics, what would have been sales and distribution, the materials management, everything that would have been covered under logistics previously is now coming under enterprise management. So that's the logistics side. With finance and controlling, that's now coming under S4 HANA Finance. So you might have heard the term simple finance and simple logistics being thrown around. SAP are now changing the branding slightly, calling them S4 HANA Enterprise Management and S4 HANA Finance. So if you traditionally were working as a logistics consultant, the kind of natural transition would be to go into enterprise management. It's important to note that S4 HANA Finance is completely uploaded onto the Learning Hub. There's also a certification which can be taken through the Certification Hub, but for logistics and enterprise management, that's still a work in progress. So there are currently 11 different courses on the Learning Hub, but they're expecting to upload the remainder of them over the next coming weeks. So June 2016 was their anticipated date for uploading that enterprise management content. Regarding the other modules, for example, HCM, that's moving to SuccessFactors. CRM is moving to Cloud for Customer. So all of the traditional on-premise modules are having a transition into cloud, and the chances are they probably won't have the same name. But as we said at the beginning, we've been doing a lot of research into the different modules available. We've been doing a lot of different webinars as well. So if there was anything in particular that you did want to discuss, then we'd be happy to, as we said, give you a one-on-one call and go over any questions that you might have specifically related to any areas.
Yes, that was something I was interested in because I was searching around a lot. And the major Learning Hub courses that were available or released by SAP was mostly on Simple Finance. And as you stated it correctly, the rest of the modules, as they call the new modules or the new packages, those are work in progress. So yeah, I would love to have a one-on-one call with you guys and see when they are coming up with the next Learning Hub for the next module, so that I'm interested in logistics and sales because I'm
Okay.
an SD and LE guy.
Just to highlight, the Learning Hub isn't so. There is one Learning Hub which covers all of the different modules. So if you had a subscription now, which gave you access to those 11 different titles, then as they get uploaded, because you've got a license, you would immediately have access. So it's not that you need to subscribe to a Finance Learning Hub or an S4 HANA Learning Hub. You would have access across the board to all of the different titles. But we can absolutely arrange a time to have a phone call, as of course can anyone else in the webinar. We'll be happy to give you specific information.
Right. Thanks.
Thank you, Sampat.
So Charles, you have a question. What kind of profile do you really look for? More project management or technical profile? So to be honest, we're a recruitment company, so we do offer a lot of opportunity to freelance and permanent consultant, but we have different roles. So we do have project management role coming in. We do have technical consultants role coming in. It's really depending on the client needs, but I would say 50-50. It's really same amount of the profile that the demand that we receive from the client. And Vishwa, I think you have another question. Do you also provide training on other modules like COBBC? As Camilla mentioned before, that we do, Learning Hub platform is for all the modules across SAP. So you can access to traditional SAP CO modules, BPC modules, as well as simple finance modules. So there are different modules across SAP. You have about 5,000 materials access available for you, and you can choose depending on which courses that you want to take. So if you change your mind in the later on, thinking that you started from simple finance, but later on, if you decided to move into different area, you can look into those materials and take courses as well. I think a lot of times what would be useful is, even if you're a FI consultant, you need to understand the integration between MM modules or other modules. It will be useful for you to have the Learning Hub platform, so you can also access the MM materials and understand the background on that area as well. I hope it answers your questions, Vishal. I think we answered all the questions. But if you have any questions, you can raise your hand or you can chat to us. Okay, I think that's all. Sorry. I think Vishal, you raised your hand. Yes, last question from Vishal. I will unmute you so you can talk live. You're unmuted now. Hi Vishal, you're unmuted now. Maybe I can't hear you, but you typed, how do we start on getting access to Learning Hub? So we will send you the information over through email, or we can give you a call. We just need your few information from you, and then we can get you an access once we receive the payment from you. It's not going to take too long for you, but we just need few information from you to create an order form. Charles, you have another question. Your customer are more located in UK or France or Germany? So we do have 21 offices at the moment globally. We have two offices in Germany, one in France and one in UK in London. And we have offices in US as well. So it's not gonna, all the offices have the contract and permanent opportunity available. So depending on where you want to work, you can also contact those offices, or we can let you know who you can contact on those offices. Vishal, how do we get start on getting access to Learning Hub? So we will give you a call, and We just need few information from you, as I mentioned before. Any other questions?
Well, thank you to everyone for attending today. We hope you found this session useful and informative. As Momo just said, we will be following up with everyone. So if you do have any outstanding questions, you can either email us on saplearninghub@k2partnering.com, or you can wait for our follow-up email, and you will also receive a recording of the session. So thank you again to everyone for attending, and hope you have a good day or evening ahead, depending on where in the world you are. Thank you. Goodbye.